Classically, Sephardic-Turkish frittadas are made with cheese, but there's nothing classic about this fritada. Today we're going to be making a spinach, artichoke, and onion casserole, which will make this a non-dairy fritada that'll be delicious, and you'll be able to serve it with absolutely everything. Sally, that girl, in the kitchen. Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Sally, that girl, in the kitchen. In today's episode, I'm going to teach you how to make a spinach, artichoke, and onion fritada, a casserole. So Sephardic Turkish people tend to call anything that is baked with vegetables and some egg in it a fritada. But what's special about this particular version is that I'm going to be making this one non-dairy. A lot of frittadas have cheese in them, which of course is phenomenal. I won't deny it. Cheese is delicious, but once in a while you want a non-dairy version, a non-dairy recipe that'll go great with everything. So for today's recipe, I'm going to be making a non-dairy fritada. So I am super excited to teach you how to make it. So let's not wait another second and let's get started. For today's recipe, you will need 32 ounces of thawed frozen spinach, 3 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil, 1 medium-sized yellow onion, 28 ounces of chopped canned artichoke hearts, 8 large eggs, half a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of ground black pepper, 2 tablespoons of onion powder, 3 tablespoons of onion soup mix, and 3 tablespoons of chicken-flavored consommé powder. You'll also need some non-stick cooking spray. And as far as tools, you'll need a 9 by 13 inch baking dish, some oven mitts, a cutting board and a knife, a serving spoon and a serving fork, something to stir your onions with as you cook them. I'm going to be using a wooden spoon. You'll need a large bowl, some measuring spoons, and a medium-sized bowl with a fork. And finally, you'll need a small to medium-sized skillet. So now that we have all of our ingredients and tools together, let's get started. So the first thing you're going to need to do is thaw your spinach. So what I like to do is the night before I'm going to cook, I pull my spinach out of the fridge and I just let it sit in the sink to slowly thaw. Or of course you can pull it out in the morning if you're going to be preparing this later on in the evening. And that way your spinach is ready to go when you are. So now once your spinach has thawed, the first thing you're going to want to do is grab a medium-sized yellow onion, and then you're going to want to chop that up into small pieces. Then you're going to want to add your 3 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil to your medium or small skillet, and then you're going to add those onions right on top of that oil. Make sure to get all of those in. And then you're going to turn your heat on to low. So it depends on your stove. My stove runs pretty hot. So what I like to do is I just cook these on low. I make sure to cover all of those onions with that beautiful extra virgin olive oil. And then it shouldn't take more than 5 to 10 minutes, probably 7 minutes max on my stove to cook these onions. You don't want them to get too dark. You just want to soften them up, give them a little color, and then just turn off the heat. So now they are beautiful, they're fragrant and golden. I'm just going to take them off the hot burner and let them sit. And now's a good time to preheat your oven to 350 degrees, making sure you have a rack in the center. And then we're going to move on to squeezing out our spinach. So if you've seen me work with frozen spinach before, you'll know that I wash my hands thoroughly, and then I grab the spinach in my hands bunch by bunch, and I squeeze out all of the liquid to just make sure that's nice and dry. And then I do that to all of my spinach. That's a full 2 pounds of frozen spinach, 32 ounces. And then once I've squeezed all that water out, they tend to clump together, the leaves, because of course we've squeezed them quite hard. So then I just come in here with my hands and I break up all of those clumps and just loosen those leaves. I want to make sure that they're not all clumped up together. They're nice and loose. And then we're going to move on to working with our artichokes. So I'm using canned artichokes, and these come pre-chopped. These are recipe ready, and they're not marinated. These are just plain artichoke hearts. And what I do is I just drain them right there in the can. That's good enough. Just open the can a little bit, drain out all the liquid, and you are good to go. Now, if you can't find the pre-chopped recipe ready artichoke hearts, then of course you can just get the regular artichoke hearts and use a cutting board and a knife or a food processor and chop them up yourself. But of course, these are super convenient. So when I find them, this is the way I usually go. So now I've drained all the liquid out, and I'm just gonna bring over both cans, and I'm just gonna throw them right on top of our spinach. And then remember those beautiful onions that we prepared earlier? We're going to pour those right on top. This is gonna really give this such amazing flavor, that touch of olive oil and these yummy onions. It's gonna be delicious. Now I'm gonna set this aside for a moment, and I'm gonna grab my medium-sized bowl, and then in that bowl I'm gonna crack 8 eggs. Now the eggs are really gonna be a binder for this dish because we're not using cheese after all, and when we make our fritada with cheese, the cheese acts as a sort of glue to hold everything together. But in this case, we're going to be using just eggs, and that will be enough to slice this fritada. We don't need any other binder. We don't need breadcrumbs. Just the eggs will bring this whole thing together. So now we're going to beat our eggs really well. We just want them nicely beaten. And then we're going to add all of the eggs right on top of this delicious vegetable mixture that we have created. And then we're just going to come in with half a teaspoon of salt because we're adding other ingredients that have sodium. Then we're adding half a teaspoon of ground black pepper. We're building layers of flavor. Then 2 full tablespoons of onion powder. This is really going to add some beautiful flavor to our dish. And then we're coming in with 3 tablespoons of onion soup mix, which is one of the secret little ingredients to really flavor this up. And then finally, the 3 tablespoons of chicken consomme powder. These 2 little ingredients together just really add a ton of flavor to this dish without adding any meat or any dairy, and they're just absolutely delicious, and they're really going to bring out the flavor of these delicious vegetables. So then all I'm doing is I grabbed my serving fork, and I'm just using that to incorporate all of the ingredients together. You just want to make sure that all of those seasonings that we added in get fully distributed throughout this delicious vegetable and egg mixture. And this is just going to be so yummy. It smells amazing already with those onions lightly fried in olive oil. It's going to be super yummy. So now our mixture is looking amazing, and we're just going to set that aside for a second. I brought over a spoon to help me put it in my pan. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my 9x13 baking dish. So I'm using this type of baking dish today. And the cool part about this type of baking dish is that you can prepare this in advance, and you can store it in the freezer, and you can put this from the freezer to the oven, and then you can serve it right there in this particular baking dish because it looks so beautiful. And yes, it goes from freezer straight to the oven, which is incredible, and it's perfect for so many of my fritadas or my almodrote de berenjena. You can make them in advance, pop it in the freezer, and then just stick it frozen into the oven, which is crazy. I'm going to be sure to add this to my Sally That Girl in the Kitchen Amazon store. I do make a small commission from Amazon if you do purchase it through my store, but this is something that if you don't have one, I highly recommend. You can use it for so many things, even for my tapadas. It's just so perfect for making things in advance and being able to serve in a beautiful dish and being able to bake from frozen, which is crazy. So enough about the pan. It's not even sponsored. I just really love this pan. So anyway, we're gonna move on and we're going to spray the inside of our pan real well with some non-stick cooking spray. You just want to make sure to get those corners and just coat it well with non-stick cooking spray. And then we're going to bring over this beautiful mixture of vegetables and seasonings and egg, and we're just going to add all of it right in to this beautiful baking dish. And then what we're going to do is, using our spoon, I just very gently spread this out because I want to create a pretty much even layer throughout, and then very gently, without pressing down too hard, with the back of the spoon, I just flatten out the top of the mixture just very gently. I'm not pressing down at all. I'm just kind of spreading it out evenly amongst the pan. That way we get a beautiful, even fritada. And then look at how gorgeous it looks. It's actually quite deceiving to the eye because the artichokes make you think that, wait, is this a cheese dish? But no, no dairy. So it's in the oven, center rack. 45 minutes is what it takes. And then after 45 minutes, I turn the broiler on, and in my oven, I put it for about 3 minutes. You can watch it, just make sure not to burn it, of course, but it'll give it a beautiful golden little touch on top. Look at how gorgeous this looks. And the smell, amazing. Of course, the vegetables, the seasonings. It is infusing my kitchen with such a delicious aroma. This is so, so tasty, and you're not gonna miss the dairy. And as I said, it's just such a perfect side dish that can be served with anything. It's absolutely yummy, and it's really just such a great dish. And it's also great to bring over to a friend's house if they ask you to bring a side dish, or really for any time. It's just super yummy. You saw how easy it was to put together, and it's really just a pretty looking dish, quite impressive and yummy. So of course, this is ready to be served right now. But I won't lie, if you let it sit and come to room temperature and refrigerate it and serve it the following day, in my opinion, it just gets better. I don't know what happens. The flavors just infuse, and it's even better the next day. So if you're lucky and have any leftovers, just put this in the fridge and then cut yourself a piece and warm it up the next day. And it's really even better the following day, which I know sometimes doesn't even make sense, but yeah, I guess it just gives it a chance for all of those seasonings, those flavors to just infuse the spinach and artichoke, and it's super, super delicious. But of course, I'm not going to be waiting until tomorrow. I am ready to cut myself a slice right now. So what I did was I used a long, thin knife, and I just cut this into squares. So I happen to cut it into 18 pieces, which is also beautiful because it's such a beautiful number, 18 high. And look at that edge and how beautiful and golden it looks. I absolutely love the caramelization that develops from the contact with the pan. Just gets golden and beautiful. And you see how you slice this up and the eggs bind it together. It's just absolutely perfect. So now, of course, my favorite part, look at how tender it is because we didn't add any other binder. It's just perfect. I can't wait to take a bite. So tasty. It really is so delicious. Those onions that we cooked, really just give this an incredible flavor. And of course, all those seasonings that we added just really makes this super, super flavorful. This is just a different, yummy, super good side dish for pretty much anything you are preparing. It is super yummy. It's full of vegetables and just absolutely delicious. Of course, if I can manage to keep it on my fork. Super yummy, golden, tasty. I know you're gonna love this. So how amazing does this fritada look? It is so savory and so delicious. And we didn't add any cheese to it, but it still has so much flavor, and it's going to be the perfect side dish for everything you prepare. Not to mention for people who just can't eat dairy, it's a really nice, yummy fritada without the need for any dairy. You're really going to want to try this recipe. Trust me. Nah, better yet, don't trust me. You're gonna have to try the recipe yourself. And of course, if you enjoyed today's recipe, don't forget to like it, to write me a nice comment, share it with your friends. If you make it, take some pictures, share it on your own social media, and tag Sally That Girl in the Kitchen so they can find me and they can also make so many yummy recipes. And of course, that way you're sharing the love. So I really, really appreciate that. And of course, if you're not subscribed already here on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to Sally That Girl in the Kitchen and to touch the little notification bell. And that way you're gonna get notified every time I put up a new recipe, which I'm doing all the time. And of course, if you're not following me on social media and you want to reach out to me, so you can send me some pics so that I can see what you've made, or if you have a question about one of my recipe videos, you need to follow me as Sally That Girl in the Kitchen on Facebook, Instagram, and on Pinterest. And you can also find me as Sally That Girl FL on Twitter, Snapchat, and on TikTok. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Sally That Girl in the Kitchen.